welcome. My name's Ram Shenoy. I'm with the Houston chapter of TIE, and we're very pleased to welcome Pardeep Kumar, who's a TIE charter member who's moved from the Tampa, Florida chapter to Houston. And he reached out to us and was so enthusiastic to get to know the Texas community that we thought an information webinar would not only be of interest to the Houston immigration community at large, but also be an opportunity for the Thai Houston community to get to know Pardeep. Now, as we've opened during 2022 with more physical events, getting back to a new COVID normal, we haven't had that many webinars, but in fact, we're very pleased that Pardeep was so enthusiastic that he gave us the motivation to schedule one. Thank you very much. Next slide, please, Anna. So for those of you who don't know TIE is a nonprofit association dedicated to fostering entrepreneurship. We hold activities around the mentoring, education, networking, investing, all sorts of things to encourage up and coming entrepreneurs, or frankly, entrepreneurs who may be on the nth generation startup, succeed. And what helps us underwrite our activities is our sponsors. And so we'd like to acknowledge many sponsors who help provide the funds that provide the resources for us to run these activities, as well as the generous support of our charter members who are the lifeblood of this chapter. Without your membership dues, we don't exist. And we thank the many of you who are supporting us, not only with your subscriptions, but also joining us to listen to this webinar. Now, our format for this call will follow what we've done in the past. Pardeep and I have about 30 minutes of prepared Q&A, after which we've anticipated about 15 to 20 minutes of audience Q&A. You can submit a question for anyone in the audience at any time. Please do so using the chat function, which if you go to the bottom of your screen at Zoom, you'll see chat. If you click on that, type in your question, it'll be relayed to me as a moderator. I'll do my best to incorporate your questions as they come, even during the prepared Q&A, but I'll certainly do my best to incorporate them in the audience Q&A at the end of 30 minutes when we have that time. Although I preserve the moderator's privilege of combining and filtering questions as needs be to smooth the flow of the conversation. And so with that, let's get started. So welcome, Pardeep. Some of you on this webinar may already have met Pardeep because he's been very active since he's got to Houston and attending a few social events in the Houston community over the last 2 to 3 weeks. But Pardeep, for the benefit of those who don't know you, I think it would be helpful to just understand a little bit about your background. Now, you've got a finance background and you've had an international career. Let me first ask about your background in finance, because when I started talking to you, I was really quite impressed at the breadth and range of where you've worked in finance. So tell us a little bit about that, please.
So first of all, Ram, thank you very much. Thanks for your kind words. And I must acknowledge this thing that when I moved to Houston, I managed to meet with Ram at one of the events. And I was very pleased, the warmth and hospitality of Ram, that we met on the next day on the cup of coffee, and really he helped me getting into the elite network of the Houston. So Ram, thanks a lot. And I'm really impressed the way you are leading the Thai chapter. So I must acknowledge it. And to all of my charter fellow members and other listeners of the webinar, thank you very much for sparing your time and be the part of this webinar to understand more about me, more about the topic we will be discussing on that. So to me, Ram, I have a very diversified finance background. I started my career in corporate banking and then worked into the asset management, investment banking, private equity, buy-side research, And even the multifaceted and the subset of all those financial sophisticated fields, and including corporate and business development sides. So I work across 2 to 3 continents and work into different sophisticated investment fields of the finance. I'm an investment guy. I would say, finance is a good word. Finance is a broad, but I would say I'm an investment guy and worked into many facets of that area.
And, that was a little bit surprising to me when you and I began talking about real estate investment at one of those events. But the other thing that surprised me is you've worked across several countries. So tell us a little bit about where you've worked.
Yeah, so I started my career in Pakistan. I have a little bit unique kind of a background, and I would love my charter fellow to know me more about it. So I'm a Pardeep Kumar. I'm a minority, but born in Pakistan and raised in Pakistan. So we have half of the family in India and half of the family in Pakistan. So I'm very well connected on the both side because I have seen the both dimension and both facets on that side. So this is a little bit unique about me, I would say, on that side. So I finished my all of my studies in Pakistan. I started working in Pakistan, started my career in corporate banking in the largest commercial bank of Pakistan, then worked into a few prominent local and international asset management firms over there. In 2009, I got an opportunity to move to the Middle East area. I joined one regional investment bank headquartered in Saudi Arabia, in Riyadh, but we had the offices all around the Gulf region. So I was traveling a lot through all Gulf countries, including Qatar, Bahrain, UAE, and Kuwait. And we have been worked a lot with Europe and Far East as well as. So while being headquartered in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, we have been dealing with all those countries into the Gulf and Middle Eastern as well as the European countries. In 2014, I moved to US, joined an investment banking arm, and worked around across the many merger and acquisitions and couple of many other facets of the investment banking over there. So working in 3 different continents, number of other countries, and being in a unique background gives me a little bit, I wouldn't say age, but gives me a broader perspective to see the things maybe a few people are missing that kind of angle, I would say.
So with your sort of depth in finance, tell us a little bit, I want to move to the main topic of this webinar, which is around this asset management with an emphasis on immigration. How did you come to work on this particular area?
Yeah, so that's a very interesting question. Even you and I also discussed about that, having that kind of a background and thorough investment guy, how I got into the EB5. So frankly, till 2005, I didn't know a lot about EB5. We are a country of immigrants. Definitely, we know many visas down the road, but I really didn't know about that. But when I got into that deep, because I was a part of the investment banking team back in my Tampa, Florida. So they're a sister company who has been working into EB5 industry. And I was surprised the people who were the part of that industry, they were the ex Goldman Sachs, ex JP Morgan, and a very top-notch investment bankers. That really enticed me that those people are why they're working into this immigration related kind of a business. But when I get into the depth, I realize it's a mix of everything. It's a mix of the finance, it's a mix of the investment, it's a mix of the corporate development and business development side. And what I've realized that there are the very few people from the South Asian community who are working in this field, and this program has been getting a lot of traction around the world because people who are living outside of the US, they wanted to move to US through green card. So I've seen that there's a big opportunity, there's a big niche where I find there are not a lot of those people who are working in the site, especially from our community. So then I decided to join that part because it gives me a flavor of everything, put me in front of the people, and do and I would say utilize all of my skill set which I gained throughout my career. So I was the part of the underwriting team, part of the private equity deals, doing the marketing, bringing up the innovative ideas, how to explore the new market. It's a new challenge, new field. So I decided to got into, and I am very happy and I'm very proud of that, of my decision, what I did during that time.
So I think this is going to be interesting because, many people in Houston, you quite rightly pointed out, there's a large population of immigrants, and many of us came in maybe on H-1B visas, maybe as F1s as students, got OPTs, and that sort of language is very familiar to many of us as a route to getting to permanent residence and citizenship. But certainly for me, I was not familiar with these EB categories. So help us understand the general immigration categories, because part of the purpose of this webinar, which is recorded, is to be a general information service to the community on this landscape and this channel that, as you said, many are unaware of. So help us understand the general immigration categories, knowing that many of us already are familiar with work visas and H1s and L1s and so on.
Excellent question. I would say, I think we should start from that. Look, we are a country of immigrants. Everybody came to US, at some point in time through different kind of visas. So we people know a lot of visas, from F1 to H1B to OPT and CPT, a lot of the, buzzwords and everything we have went through. But there are, specific to that, there are a lot of the non-immigrant visas and the immigrant visas. All the visas we have been discussing about F1, H1B, L1, which are very popular into our community and into the immigrant community. Those are all non-immigrant visas. For the immigrant visas, there are only 4 categories here, basically. Apart from asylum, I will not focus on the asylum side, but there are broadly, there are 4 categories who can get you immigrant here, in terms of you can get a green card through those categories. So those are called EB. EB means employment base. So EB1, EB2, EB3, and EB5. These are all employment-based categories. So EB1, these are only 4 categories through which you can get a green card or the permanent residency. So EB1 is for the exceptional talent. So anyone who has an exceptional talent into the arts, science, culinary, any kind of a field, if they are expert, they can apply through this EB1 category. But that's very specific to very small percentage of the people, because it encompasses the rare exceptional abilities and capabilities of a person. He can apply through EB1. And now EB2 and EB3. So before coming back to EB2 and EB3, which is employment based 2 and employment based 3, these are both a similar visas. So basically employer who hires a person on the H1B, that company sponsor them, and company sponsor them into EB2 and EB3 depending upon their professional qualification and experience. Basically, category wise, if someone is a PhD and master's kind of a person, he will go through EB2. If someone is undergraduate, starting something with a low experience, it will go to EB3. But that's a general route that as a student, a person comes here on a F1, then he gets a job, company files his H1B, and the company files his green card through EB2 and EB3. And as an entrepreneur, we have been seeing the many entrepreneurs in the US who has the offices out of the US. So they open up the office here, they apply for the L1 visas, and after L1, they apply the green card through EB2 and EB3. So EB2 and EB3 are the basics of the H1B and L1. So from non-immigrant, you can convert it into the immigrant visas through EB2 and EB3. Only the difference here that you are being sponsored by someone to apply for EB2 and EB3. Now the final category, which is EB5, employment-based 5 category, this is the most popular category in the minds of investor. So this is an investment visa. No one is sponsoring you. You are not tied to anything. You are EB5. There's a minimum requirement, which we will discuss in a bit about that, but it's an investor visa. So you invest here and you create a job. In the exchange of that, you will get the permanent residency or the green card. So this is the easiest and the fastest category to get the green card in the US.
So EB5, what distinguishes it then, if I understand correctly, is this investment characteristic, which is not the same for the other categories that you mentioned. Is that correct?
Yeah, so other categories, as I told you, EB1 is tied to your exceptional capabilities and your exceptional work which you have done in the past. EB2 and EB3, you will be sponsored by the employer. Whoever will be hire you through your own firm, like as I told you, through L1 or you are an H1B visa. So the employer will file your category. But EB5 is an independent visa. You are not tied to anything. So that's independent one, and through investment you will get a green card.
And so when you were talking to me earlier, I think if I understood correctly, you were pointing this out as a potential channel that many entrepreneurs may not may overlook, but may be applicable. Tell us a little bit more who, other than investment, who's likely to be most interested in this EB5 category? Where have you seen, you're yourself an entrepreneur, sort of evaluating this market. Tell us, who are you seeing who's most likely to be interested in this category?
Yeah, so about this category, about the EB5 category, which we even discussed in the morning, that it's my experience over the period of 6 years, there are the 2 or 3 main categories. Other than many other categories, which I will tell you, those are very much interested. So the biggest pool is living inside the US, especially people who born in India, and they already have the approved H1B and approved green card, but they are into the backlog because US immigration system works in a way it goes by quota per country. So they have the percentage of the quota they awarded every year, and we know there are a lot of Indian population into tech side, into other fields, so they are into backlogs. Just to only give you an example, that if someone has the approved green card, for example, if someone goes to Harvard and gets his job and the company file is H1B, he gets H1B, he gets his approved green card, even then he will have to wait 20 years to get green card. There's a long queue on the Indian side. So those people are tied up with that sponsored company. They always look forward to open up their ties and to become entrepreneurs. So there's a main category which is living inside in the US. They always look for alternate route, and EB5 is the route, and we have the major clientele which is coming from that side. And other category which we have seen, the people who are living out of the US, everybody want to send their kids to the US for the higher studies. Everyone knows that it's a land of opportunity, want their children to send for higher studies. But as an international student, they are paying the higher fees. And even in terms of getting an internship for an international student is tough. And, in terms of employment, definitely your employability is much less than compared to if you have the US permanent residency. So people who are wealthy or people who have the money, they always wanted to give a gift of green card to their children instead of giving a property as a gift. They would love to give them a US green card as a gift. So that's another most popular category which we have seen. And definitely third one is an entrepreneur. They want to start up their own business here. They want to come, but they don't want to tie their immigration status with the operational performance, operational success of their business, because there are 2 different points. One is an immigration status, other one is in a business one. So what they do the passive investment with us to take care of the immigration status, and they start doing their business in any category the way they want to proceed.
Excellent. So before I continue, let me just pause and remind the audience that you're very welcome to type in a question at any time in the chat. It'll come to me and I'll do my best to incorporate that in the conversation. Let's continue with our prepared Q&A. And so you described you described the immigration categories, you described EB5, you described who's likely to be most interested in it. So now tell us about how the EB5 process actually works.
Yeah, so I think Ram, before that, I think I must explain a little bit more about EB5, what EB5 visa is. I think we missed that part. I think it's important for the investor to know about that.
Let's do that.
Yeah, so basically, as I told, the EB5 is the investor visa by which anyone can get a green card or US permanent residency through investment. So there are few requirements of that. Number one, the minimum investment is $800,000 for a TEA area. TEA stands for targeted employment area. Targeted employment area defines as any area which has the 150% more unemployment rate than the average unemployment rate in the nation. So those are categorized as a TA area, targeted employment areas. So $800,000 investment over there, and $1.050 million into non-TA area, any area like in Houston, any area into the downtown. I mean, that qualifies as a non-TA, and there is a $1.050 million investment over there. So this program is applies to the applicant, spouse, and the unmarried kids of 21 year age. So there is a 1 petition per family. So the applicant, spouse, and unmarried kids of the 21 year age. And there are 10,000 visas every year. There's a big demand of these visas, so especially from China and India, because those countries even don't fall into E2 category. E2, it's a little bit off topic, but that's very important for the Indian to understand, especially Indian born. E2 is a non-immigrant category, which any person can start a business. here, but there's a non-immigrant visa, and that can start into the investment range of $100,000 to $200,000. It's a very popular category. E2, it's a non-immigrant, it's a treaty visa, but unfortunately, Indians and Chinese are not that part of treaty, so they don't. So it don't count on that basically. It didn't apply to that Indian and Chinese people. So 10,000 visa, a lot of huge demand. Around, I would say 70 to 75% visas goes to China, followed by India around 15 to 17%, then Vietnam and Brazil and South American and African countries. So investment of $800,000 or 1.050 million, and the creation of 10 jobs. We have to create a 10 economic jobs in the US, and in the exchange, a person gets a green card. So that's the first part I wanted to explain that.
Yeah, that's really good. And in fact, I've got a question from the audience on your explanation there. So let me relay that. It's from Imtiaz. He's asking if a company in India wants to open a US subsidiary, can its shareholders use the EB5 route?
No. Now this is a very interesting question, which Imtiaz asking. So Imtiaz will come on the actually next slide, which we already prepared. There are the new recent law approved on March 15, 2002. It's a very good law. It has been protecting investor interest. We'll come on that. So now the pooled investment is being banned. So now there is only direct investment and the passive investment through the regional center. What is the difference between the direct and pooled investment? Both are the active investment. But now what will happen over there here now? So if the business is valuing $800,000 in a in a TA area, any single investor can open up the business, and if he can create a 10 jobs, that's fine. He can file for EB5. But if the project cost is $2 million, it used to be allowed that 2 to 3 combined investor, EB5 investor, they can combine their pool and they can be the part of that pooled investment of $2 to $3 million. That's not being allowed now. So that if the business worth only $800,000 or $1 million, single investor can open up the business and can file EB5. But the pooled investment is not allowed. They are encouraging the passive investment through the regional center to protect the investor's interest and to protect the immigration status of the investor. They can, the specific answer to Imtiaz, they can open up the subsidiary, but opening up a subsidiary, creation of the 10 jobs through active investment while sitting in India, it's a very tough job. It's not being allowed in that form, because if you're opening up a subsidiary, I'm pretty sure that he's talking about opening up the office and all this stuff. So you could not be able to spend $800,000 on your subsidiary. You cannot put the investment in the bank account just to operate the business. The investment must be at the risk. The investment must be into the economy to create the operational jobs into that. So it's a very tough route to open up the subsidiary under EB5 rule actually into the current laws.
Okay, and I have a second question from Mohammed Iqbal, who comments 800,000 seems a bit high for investment, and his concern was about he's giving the example of Pakistanis bringing their capital to the US when there are maybe restrictions on dollar mobility, foreign exchange restrictions. Have you had circumstances where you've had to navigate that, and how do you navigate that?
Yeah, I think Iqbal is perfectly all right. So what he's saying. So the major purpose of this program, that whatever the money you are bringing here, that must be through the legal sources. Money should be illegal. That's a key aspect of this program. Like US immigration will go through the money trail even by penny, and the attorney is there to work on the source of funds. That's a very important aspect of that. So even people from Pakistan or Bangladesh, even Bangladesh has the more restricted controls. Even the India has the restricted control. Like from India, you cannot remit more than $250,000 in a year time. That's also the restriction control on the India as well. As so we have been facing these kind of issues every time, because remitting money from these countries is a big challenge. Investment amount, whatever it is, we cannot change it because that's the US approved investment amount. So that's it is. But getting the money out of the Pakistan or India or Bangladesh, there are the ways. we have been doing in the past. We did that. Attorney will help them out how to remit money out of that. If the funds are legal, it will take some time, but definitely that's being remitted, and that's very normal. When the investor from every South Asian country, not only Pakistan, but even from India, Bangladesh, and many other countries as well as.
Excellent. I've got 3 more questions from the audience, so I'm going to clear those first. Okay, so Vivek asks, should these jobs be awarded to US citizen, or is it just creating jobs to anyone?
Yeah, so that's the beauty of the passive model, because we are a regional center model, and so we don't have to create a 10, we don't need to hire the 10 W2 job. That's the reason that the US immigration is promoting the regional center program. And even for the audience, before March 15, 2022, it was being allowed as a pooled investment and direct investment. You can start up your own business. That was an active investment. But the statistic, even before March 15, there was 99% people who were applying through the regional center program compared to doing their own business, doing their active business. Because as I mentioned, that nobody wants to tie their immigration status with the operational success of the asset. And in the active investment, you have to create physically W2 jobs. Doesn't matter you're a citizen or someone, but you have to create a W2 legal jobs. In the regional center, like we invest into real estate and we create indirect jobs. So what does it mean? That US immigration gives us an econometrics model. We have economic study approved by the US immigration. $1 million construction spending gives us 10 to 18 jobs, depending upon what we are developing. If it's a senior assisted living facility, we got 18 jobs. If it's a multifamily housing, we got a 10 jobs. So we created jobs through the construction spending instead of the hiring W2. And as an Houston EB5, I will tell you more about that, but mostly good results.
Hold that thought. We'll elaborate on that. I want to get through some of these other questions, but your basic answer was it's a W2 job. It doesn't really matter about US citizens. Okay, let me go to Chandu Revenue's question. This is about the active investment again. It must be, quote, a new company, correct? Or can the investment be made to purchase an existing enterprise?
So purchasing existing enterprise will not work in any way.
Right. Okay. So, very good. So it's got to be basically a new company if you're thinking about active investment.
I actually want to clear that on that side to the question, because if you purchase the existing business, it means the jobs were already created on that business. So definitely you have to create a new jobs. So for example, if the business is already have the 20 W2 employees, for example, if it comes in the range of $800,000, $1 million, if you are purchasing it, so that will not give you a job. If you don't create a job, you will not get your permanent residency. So it's always preferable to have, if someone thinks that if they purchase a existing business and they can create 10 more jobs, which is almost very tough to get into, there's a different ball game. But it's the reason we always insist to create a new company, so you can easily create a new economic jobs, which will gives you a benefit to get the green card at the end.
Very good. Imtiaz has a follow-up question. If the US subsidiary of an Indian company invests 1.5 million in inventory purchased from the parent company, will this meet the investment criteria? I guess it all depends on whether the purchase of inventory creates 10 new jobs, right?
Yeah, so I think so. The answer to Imtiaz, yes. If whatever could be, as I told you, if it's a $2 million business and if there's a one investor, he is willing to invest a $2 million. Perfectly fine. US immigration doesn't mind. As I told you, pooled investment is not allowed. But if the investment is a $5 million, if there's a one investor, he wants to invest a $5 million, he could have done. Yeah, that's fine. But as you pointed out, Ram, at the end, he has to create a 10 economic jobs, and as the active investment, if he's purchasing that inventory from them, if they be able to hire a 10 people W2 physically here, yeah, that's perfectly fine. That's being doable, and people have been doing so. But as I told you, that because then you have to
we'll come back to the passive thing, because I can begin to see from these questions why the passive route is quite a bit more attractive. So Mohammed asks, would it be possible to start with some amount of money and raise it up to $800,000 of revenue to qualify?
Yeah. Right.
Okay.
So before March 15, 2002, which will come in the slide very soon, it wasn't allowed. Installment plan wasn't allowed before March 15, 2022. But now it is allowed now. But here's a catch. When the attorney will submit the petition I-526, you have to give an exact plan, exact sources from where the rest of the money is coming in. For example, just to give you example, that if someone is filing the the petition on the installment plan and he's submitting depositing $200,000, then he will have he has to give a game plan of $600,000 with the specific resources, a specific source of funds, and how much the money is getting out of it. If there is a even deviation of the $50,000, like for example, if he's thinking that I will be raising $400,000 by selling the property in India, for example, and because the market went down and he came up with a $350,000, then his case will have to be completely redo. Then the attorney will have to file another petition. Then definitely he will come in trouble. It's so very risky. So if someone thinks that, okay, I have the game plan that I will be money coming from that and that investment, and that's exact investment what he's talking about, that should be coming from that specific source of fund. He cannot replace one amount from other amount before the US immigration. So that's very important. But it's doable. My answer doable.
Okay. Next question from Ashok. And I think you've already said this, but let me confirm. Can the EB5 required investment be in the form of an acquisition of an existing business as long as you meet the job and requirement? So I assume Ashok's question means he's going to buy an existing company. He's going to create at least 10 W2 jobs. Does that qualify?
Yeah, so I think if he's buying a purchase, as I told you, that if he's buying the existing business and he thinks so that after investing more, he can create a 10 new economic jobs, yeah, that can be qualified through. But again, the acquisition must be 100%. He cannot be a part share. It was allowed before as in a pooled investment, like I had the business of $5 million, and if someone is buying my share 20%, investing $1 million, and we are creating a 10 jobs, that was allowed before March 15, 2002, but now it's not allowed, because that will be counted as a pooled investment. So whatever business he's acquiring, that should be 100% owned by a person and creating in the creation of 10 jobs. Yes, that's doable, possible.
I have a couple of questions from Babu and Mohammed, but I'm going to hold off them because I think they anticipate some of the things you've been talking about. Let's get to some of the subjects you've mentioned. So we stopped at, well, tell us about how the EB5 process actually works.
Yeah, so EB5 process works now. Definitely, it will start from the aspirant who's looking for getting a US green card. He will get in touch with us through passive investment or active investment. He will start doing a due diligence. We will keep the guy in touch with the attorney. We always refer the guy to the few premium attorneys. He can speak to them. So attorney will work with him in terms of creating a source of funds or know his financial situation, what he wants to do. We always give a very ethical and serious advice to the investor. So let's say that if a person does a due diligence on us, on attorney, and he is willing to go to file the EB5 petition, which is called Form I-526. So we, then the investor, attorney, and we work together, file his I-526 petition to the US immigration. Within 2 weeks, he will have the acknowledgement from the US immigration with the WAC number that you can now track your application online, and US acknowledge the immigration acknowledges that we got your petition. Then it took anywhere from 12 to 18 months if it's in a journal EB5 petition, but if it's in a priority processing, which we will speak in a little bit about in some time, but generally 12 to 18 months timeline, he will have the approval of a green card. So then he will, if the person lives out of the India, he will go through a consular process to get his visa stamp to get a green card. If a person is in the US, so he can file the I-526 and the adjustment of status concurrently when he files his petition. So once he will have the green card approval, well, he has to wait 21 months because that's a conditional green card. Green card is the same green card with all the perks, privileges, everything is in the same. Even the time towards the citizenship will start from the date he will get a conditional green card. But why it's a conditional? Because US immigration is awarding a green card to an applicant on the basis of the documents we have submitted in terms of creation of the job, in terms of the business model, everything. So after getting green card, US Immigration gives us a 21 months timeline to file another petition. It's called I-829. So we have to wait 21 months. From 21 months to 24 months, we will file another petition called I-829. We again submitted, attorney will submit it, that petition to the US Immigration to show that we have created 10 jobs. So it will take anywhere from 12 to 18 months again to have the approval of the permanent green card. So there's a process of around 4 years by the time the person will get a permanent green card. But as I told you that a time towards citizenship will start from the date you get a conditional green card. So the most of the people get the permanent green card and the US passport around the same time. So the process is straight and very simple and very easy, as long as the investor have done their due diligence on the regional center and on the attorney. One thing I will really emphasize on all the listeners of this webinar that's very important for them, that attorney is the custodian of them, not me, not anyone else. So they have to look for a premium attorney who has a thorough experience into doing a EB5 petitions. He must be the attorney of a person in any way.
Very good. I'm going to still hold off the questions. You mentioned a couple of times now this March 2022 law, that there were major changes in the law in March 2022, the investor law. So just tell us about the recent changes and what's attractive about these changes.
Yeah, so far this EB5 program since 2014, this program has been renewing for every 6 months, and there was no grandfathering on that program because of the fight between the Democratic and the Republican. There was a bipartisan, and the congressmen on both sides weren't agreeing on the conditions of the program, because that program was created with the intent of creating economic employment opportunities. There were many things before that law. If we get into detail, and there will be a long discussion, that's for some other time. There was many things, so both weren't agreeing on that. So the program was renewing for every 6 months, and the investor on the they were hanging on the sword all the time. So if I file, what will happen to the program? If the program gets stopped, that lapse, what will happen to my investment, my green card? So after a long time, after long negotiation, I mean, in fact, June 2021 till March 15, 2022, this 9 month, the program was completely in a lapse. There was no EB5 program in between that. But finally, they agreed on the terms and condition, and they passed the new law on March 15, 2022, and to protect the investors' interest more. So what are the main points of that law? Now the program is extended till September 30, 2027. What does it mean? There's no program. It's for 5 years coming up. Upcoming 5 years, there is no hanging sword on the investor. The program has been grandfathering. Grandfathering means that any investor who files before the program expires, he's being protected in every way, whether the program is getting renewed or not by the US Congress. So that's a great part on that side. The biggest benefit in this program, the investor are getting into concurrent filing. What does it mean by concurrent filing? It used to be before, you have to file a EB5 petition, you have to wait for the approval, then you apply for the adjustment of status. So the people who are on the H-1B visas or the approved green card or the F-1 visas, number of visas they are working, if they file the I-526 EB5 petition, they can concurrently file I-485, and they will get adjustment of status. Even without, they don't need to wait for the approval. That's a great benefit. So then their visa status won't be expired. They will be getting EADs, called Employment Authorization Card. So anyone who's on the non-immigrant category here and they file I-526, they can concurrently file I-485. This is the biggest benefit the investor will be getting into. And the most important thing, the installment plan is being now approved and allowed. It wasn't before. It was, few attorneys did that, but it was very tough to get through the US Immigration, but now it's officially allowed. You can have the unsecured funding, secured and unsecured funding, as well as in a loan, you can borrow a loan. It wasn't allowed. And there is a very strict compliance and reporting from the regional centers. It was earlier, but now it's more. So it's protecting the investors' interest a lot in many different facets and many different angles. I think you're on mute, Ram. That you're on mute, sorry. You're on mute.
Thanks. Excellent. So you got a lot of questions about active investment, and now I want you to move to just talk a little bit about the advantage of passive investment as a mechanism for EB5 and how you came across real estate. And then I'll introduce Babu's pending question at that
Okay.
point.
So for the passive investment is being done by the regional center. The purpose of passive investment, as I mentioned earlier, that we are being authorized to use the econometrics model to create the indirect job. Because the purpose of is this program to minimum investment and the creation of 10 jobs. Everybody is coming into EB5 program. They are not looking for the higher return. They are not looking for something of flashy things down the road. They look for the getting green card. This is the top notch. I would say the need or the criteria for anyone who's looking for EB5. And it's the reason that many regional center, I would say more than 99% regional center, they are into the real estate investment projects, because creation of job is very easy, because nobody wants to give the harm to the immigration status of the investor. And on the other side, active investment is good to get a green card, but as I told you, it's now pooled is not allowed. It's only direct. But when you are operating your own business and you are tying up your immigration status with your own business, so everything is depending upon the operational success of the operational business, and that's very risky. So you have to keep continuing business for 2 to 3 years down the road and keep your business active. And this is, we are living in a US economy. Any time any industry can go into downturn because of any reason. So you don't want to tie your immigration status with that business. So the most, even as I told you, when it was allowed in the past, even the statistic was showing that 99% people out of 10,000 visas, 9,800 visas were going to regional center program, because passive investment were creating a jobs in a very fashion manner. So they, even something happens bad to that project, but the immigration status won't be impacted. So that's the bigger difference on that. Hiring a W2 physical jobs, managing the business, and irrespective you are incurring a losses. So that's a very risky. We have the business, we have the clientels. They're from Canada, they're from India, they're from here. They have been doing pretty well on the business side. They could have filed on their EB5 petition on their own, but they choose to go through us, because they wanted us to take care of their immigration status while they can take care of their business and operational performance the way they wanted to do that. So that's a big difference on that passive and active investment sides.
Right. And so now let me ask Babu's question, which is, he's asking, what is involved in setting up a regional center for real estate development? What is involved in terms of the timescale, process, and profitability? So in the process of taking EB5 monies and co-invest with your own funds, if you like, you're saying the investor puts in 30% for the EB5, but then they're diversifying their risk. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so answer to Babu, I think this is a very interesting question, because he seems a very entrepreneur and he wants it to open up his own project as well. As that's fair enough. That's really good. But to have their own approved regional center, it will take anywhere from 18 to 24 months. So that's not a one easy thing to replica, that fine. But even from the regional center perspective, Babu does not need to open up a regional center. Even he can be rented a regional center. There are a number of regional center, because these are actually regional centers of the compliance entity, I would say, in terms of, so he can have many regional center. I mean, I can give him a refer to a few regional center. He can be rented and he can start his own project. But what's most important when EB5 investors look into, they always look into the successful track record of the company, successful track record of those projects, that whether they created a jobs or not, whether people got their money back, got their green card back. So the operational performance and success and track record of that regional center and the company is very, very, very important. Is another part of the question that can he co-invest with us on a fund? No, we could not, because when I will tell you our business model at Houston EB5, what we do, so we cannot co-invest with anyone, because I will explain a bit about how our business model works out, why we are premium. So when we are premium, so
yeah,
we work.
Actually, why don't you move on to tell us about just in your career, how have you come to your current offering at Houston EB5? Tell us a little bit about that, because I've got one or two questions about that. from the audience?
Yeah, so I will give a bit about that what Houston EB5, and then we will take few questions from the
Yeah.
audience, and then we will come on the current offering, because if I keep continuing, that will be too long. So,
Right.
so just to let you know that Houston EB5 is the award-winning regional center from the II USA, which is the Association of the All Regional Centers, and we are one of the few vertically integrated with the billion-dollar real estate firm called DC Partners. And I know that most of the people who are listening to our webinar, they are from Houston. Only just to let you know about DC Partners, everyone has seen the luxurious condos like Arbella, Astoria, Marlowe, Ellen is coming up. So all those luxurious downtown condos in Houston are being developed by DC Partners. So we are a vertically integrated. We are a sister company of the DC Partners. So we are a vertically integrated business model. Houston EB5 invests into only DC Partners project, which is the award-winning real estate firm. Just to let you know that we are investing into the one of the most luxurious project because of all of our reputation. We are a team of immigrants. Everyone is here immigrant. Even in fact, the DC partner in Houston EB5 is established by a person who came here on the EB5 visa back in 1990. So we know all the pains and all the all the difficulties everybody went through, because we were in the same process. So we are a team of immigrants. Number one, we invest alongside with the investor. Our skin is in the game from the day one, because we put our 20% developer equity. We secured bank funding around 60%, 55 to 60%. The remaining portion, 25 to 30%, we invest through EB5 funding. So that's a win-win for everyone. So that because we are only investing 30% inside the whole project, and we are getting the 100% job creation from the whole luxurious project. So by doing so, we always have a cushion of more than two factor of the times in the job creation. So the investor has the opportunity to invest into the luxurious project, and by investing into the smaller portion over there. So definitely his green card, I'm not saying the word using the guarantee, but the probability of is getting green card is very, very high, and the investment is very, very safe, because he's coming into the luxurious project over there. So to us, and definitely it's a win-win for us as well, as because we already have a 70% secured funding through equity and through the loan, and we also got a 30% EB5 money, which is definitely the little bit cheap cost of the capital for us as well as. So it's a win-win for us, win-win for the investor. To us as an Houston EB5, we have already have the approved 1400 plus green card. We help 700 families. We already have completed 17 successfully projected till that. The value of the project till that we have completed, it's a $1.5 billion. We already invested $300 million EB5 capital invested. And the one report anyone wants, I will share with him, and I would say hardly any regional center in this US actually release the report. So we have been releasing the report on the quarterly, because we are very open, very transparent, in which you will find our past investors, when they got invested into a previous project, when their I-526 approved, when their I-829 got approved, and when they got back their money. We have date-wise everything being recorded, and there's an audited report. So we work in a very transparent and a very transparent manner, and we have a very foolproof system from step 1 to step 5.
So we got a couple more questions, and we're coming to the end, but we've got many more questions. We'll make sure to share your information. I want to make sure, I think you said it, but one question from Mohammed is, investors get returns, their competitive returns, and they get their money back. I heard you say that. So is it true that investors eventually at some point in the future, after they get their green card or whatever, also recover the investment together with any earned profit from the projects?
Definitely. It is essence of program that as I told you, that we already sponsored 700 applicants, and everybody, the people in the past project, they got their permanent green card, and they got their investor back along with the return. And we have 100% approval on that, 100% approval on that.
And related question from Imtiaz, if an investor from India wants to invest with EB5, what kind of ROI could they expect?
Yeah, so definitely they should not be looking at IRR of 15-70%, but as a preferred equity, if they come into, they will be getting 4% annual from us. it's a 4% return. If they come as a preferred equity, they will get a 4%. If they come as a loan model to us, they will be getting a 1% out of it. But in the capital stake, they will be higher in the hierarchy if they come as a lender. But if they come as a preferred equity, they will be getting a 4%. And this is only I want to clarify imtiaz on that front, and that's the industry average. So because while as I told you, while sitting in the US as a billion dollar real estate investment firm, when we can get the loan from the bank at the 5 to 6%, nobody will offer that the huge amount of the return to the EB5 investors. So this is a very industry average. Only just and we are the highest in the industry. So generally people pay on the equity 2%, even on the loan model point something, because people are looking for the investment back and they wanted to get a green card. But here you will get a green card, investment back, and the 4% on the preferred equity, 1% on the loan model.
Excellent. Thanks. I think we've cleared all the questions. In fact, there's a question I haven't relayed, but someone wants to work with you at EB5, join you. So that's how good your answers were. I relay that offline. But it's time for us to wrap up. I want to thank you, Pardeep, for generously giving your time. I want to make clear, Pardeep has made the offer. He works with leading immigration attorneys, and he's quite happy if anyone has an immigration question. You've got the contact information on this slide here, right at the bottom of the slide. He's happy to take anyone's questions and have a free consultation on that. This is meant to be a service to the community. And of course, I'm sure there are many other people with follow-up questions on EB5. You're very welcome to contact Pardeep directly over here. I want to thank you again, Pardeep, for so generously giving your time and being so enthusiastic on this. And he's also put his information on the chat. Our next event will be the December social. We're looking at the 2nd or 3rd week of December here, maybe 14th, 15th, maybe as late as 20th. We don't know. Stay tuned. In the next 48 hours, hopefully Anna and I will nail it down. Thanks again to all of you for joining. It was a really lively discussion, Pardeep. Thank you again. Look forward to seeing many of you at the Thai Social. Even those of you who are not with Thai, it'll be open to all. Please join us. And we look forward to seeing all of you in a few weeks. Thank you all.
Thank you, Ram. Only I would say the final comment to all of my listeners, because people who are very active, and thank you very much. They were very interactive. So as actually Ram pointed out, definitely I didn't tell you the current offering because we are short of time. So we have an excellent offering into non-TA into the downtown Houston and the city of the Fredericksburg. That's a really very attractive offering. We didn't get into that, but if anyone has a query or interested, please feel free to reach me. And this seminar is for informative purpose. We are here to help family. Anyone has any kind of the problem or any kind of the query, please feel free to contact me. And this is not for selling. We are here to help the families, help my fellow charter members, help our communities to make their dreams true in any way. So please, but no bounding, no liability, feel free to contact me. I shared my info and would love to hear anyone. And only Ram, if anyone wants to work with me on EB5, please, no worries at all. Feel free to reach me, email me. We can sit down and we can see that how I can help you. I'm here to help for everyone. Thank you, Ram. Thank you, Anna. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thank you all. Bye.
Right.